All right, so like I said, let's get back into talking about how the Spanish colonies are set up and who's who and what's what. By the late 1500s, that's when Spain is going to have all of their government set up in the Americas. Like I said, Spain's not Europe's number one country based on their wealth. Some things to know is that Spanish colonies in the Americas are referred to as New Spain. So they have a bunch of different what are called viceroyalties, which are provinces. So know that. The two big administrative centers at this point are New Spain, which is Mexico, and Peru. They are governed by viceroys, which is a regional official who runs a colony in the name of the king, and they're pretty much the chief Spanish royal administrator. They don't have complete control over everything. Their actions are reviewed by what's called an audiencia or an audience. These are courts appointed by the king. Is it so they kind of review what the viceroy is doing so that there's a little bit of check on his power. The Portuguese down here are given the viceroyalty of Brazil. That's Portugal's territory. That's given to them by the Treaty of Tordesillas. Their big thing is sugar. Like I said, the most important thing that you need to associate with Portugal is sugar. I'm trying to write this with my mouths. That's everything that their economy is based off of. Sugar plantations are abundant in Portugal. All right, so life in the colonies is a little bit different. Like I said, there's chattel slavery, where slaves are considered property. I mentioned the encomienda earlier. The Spanish have their society split up a little bit different, and their whole social structure is extremely important to understanding how things work. You have the Republic of Spaniards, which are people from Spain, and the Republic de Indios, which were the Native American communities. So they're really trying to separate their own, have their own social structure. Things to know, because like I said, this is important. You need to know what's called the castas, which is the Spanish social structure. It's their social classes, very similar to the caste system in India. So know all of these words because they're very important, and then you have to know them for a push next year. Peninsulares are people who were born on the Iberian Peninsula, so they are from Spain. You have Creoles who were born in America. So you're Spanish, you just happen to be born in the Americas, which automatically made you inferior. Then you had your mixed races, your mestizos, which you were part native, part European. You did most of the manual labor. And then you had mulattoes who were of African and European descent. So these are the four social classes that you really, really need to know. And like I said, they're called the castas. There's a chart down here that shows pictures of what the different families were like. But this pretty much defined your wealth in your social standing in the American colonies. So again, Columbian exchange, super, super important. You do start to get pirates. Okay. Pirates didn't have to ship all their stuff back home. Nothing is new. Pirates are all over the place. You have pirates in the Ottoman Empire, in the Mediterranean. So it's all about getting money and taking it away. This right here, influx of silver, super, super important. In the Americas, you are going to have silver mines. The most important one that you need to know is Potosi, which was in Peru. And then you have Zacatecas in Mexico. 1/5 of all the silver mined from this point is going to the Spanish government. This is how they're making their money. So, like I said, silver was more plentiful than gold at this point. It's the greatest attraction for the Americas. And this is the basis for Spain's wealth. And we will talk more about silver as we go on. And so we talked about and Command. I'm trying to make sure I cover everything that's on your quiz. All right, as far as Portugal is concerned, again, same thing as the British and the Spanish. We have mercantilism, the Atlantic system, Columbian exchange. Like I said, their big cash crop is sugar. They are huge when it comes to plantation economy and slavery. So, timeline of Portugal, pause it, go back and read over this. Again, pause it, go look and see how Portugal came to be. Again, we're talking about the Reconquista, so that's a term you need to make sure that you're very, very familiar with. This goes through and gives you, again, like refreshes you on Prince Henry the Navigator. I mentioned this earlier, the Treaty of Tordesillas. This is what gave the Portuguese Brazil. This is how Spain got everything else and the Portuguese get Brazil. So like I said, Spain gets the West, they get Portugal. Like I said, slavery was huge for their plantation economy. The main destination for all of their slaves was Brazil. If you owned a sugar plantation, you were automatically nobility. But their whole empire in Brazil was dependent on sugar production. The natives weren't cultivators. They resisted farm labor. The indigenous population was reduced by disease, which is why the Portuguese began importing African slaves for cane and sugar production. It was super cheap labor. There was a high death rate, a low birth rate, so they constantly needed more slaves. Every ton of sugar that was produced out of Brazil cost one person their life. So if you were sent to Brazil to grow sugar, it was pretty much a death sentence. Going back over, hold on, go back. Like I said, a couple other things to go back over. With the British, it's not on the map, but something that you really need to know with the British that has nothing to do with the Spanish colonies or the Americas is our little friend Australia over here. The Dutch were the first to explore Australia, followed by Captain Cook in the late 1700s, but the British were the first to establish a permanent colony in Australia in 1788, and that was a prison colony. Eventually, by the mid 1800s, you had more settlers that came there, so then it became more of like a destination to go and settle. Other people are visiting the Pacific at this point. You had whalers and then eventually like missionaries and merchants. So we're starting to get Australia pulled into everything. And I'll talk about them more when we get into trade and stuff in that area. But that's pretty much chapter 4 in colonial society. Like I said, remember the Spanish wanted money. The Portuguese were after cash from sugar. And then North America, right now, they're just worried about settling cash crops, indentured servants, and fur trade. So that is chapter 24 for you guys. If I can figure out how to get out of this thing now. Oh, how do I stop? It's still recording. Oh, hold on. Maybe there. Go away.